Welcome back to Hands-on M365. This is where we dig into the sources to pull out the key insights, making sure you stay informed without getting overwhelmed. Today we're diving into another Hands-on M365, all focused on what's new and genuinely impactful for SharePoint, specifically from July 2025.
Yeah, July was definitely a busy month. Lots of updates that really point towards how productivity is evolving. For this hands-on M365, we've been looking closely at a great roundup over on João Ferreira's blog, Hands-on SharePoint. He
Yeah.
does a fantastic job pulling together all the latest bits directly from the Microsoft Roadmap and Message Center. Super valuable resource.
Absolutely. And it really struck me about July was this significant push on productivity across the board. We're seeing things like, Copilot getting woven much deeper into different tools, security getting a boost through Microsoft Purview, and that eSignature service finally rolling out globally. It feels like Microsoft is really starting to connect more of these pieces together.
Totally agree. It feels like AI, especially Copilot, is becoming part of the fundamental fabric, particularly in SharePoint. It's moving beyond just being helpful to being more of a real partner in getting work done. So let's maybe start with content creation, like the text editor updates.
Yes, definitely. Copilot seems to be popping up everywhere, and the more control we get, the better,
Oh,
right?
exactly. So on July 10th, Microsoft pushed out the SharePoint Text Editor Copilot Refine update. Before, you could ask it to rewrite text, which is okay, but sometimes a bit, broad. Now it's much more surgical. You can tell it to keep writing or even point it to a specific document for context using add a grounding document. But the really neat part is answering, what do you want Copilot to change? That gives you so much more control for fine-tuning.
Ah, okay. So it's less about just generating text and more about refining it collaboratively. That sounds much more useful for iterative writing.
Precisely. It's about
Sure.
co-crafting, not just generating. Think about the time saved editing.
Definitely. And speaking of creation, just a bit later, July 17th, we got SharePoint, sections with Copilot. This seems huge for anyone staring at a blank SharePoint page. You know that feeling.
Oh yeah, the blank page dread.
Right. So this lets you create whole sections just from a prompt. It suggests content based on the page context, and you can even ground it in a relevant file, too.
So it helps structure the page and suggest initial content. That could be a massive time saver, especially for getting started.
Exactly. Turning that initial setup from hours into maybe minutes.
And it's not just text getting the AI treatment. On July 23rd, Microsoft 365 Copilot in PowerPoint gained support for enterprise image libraries via SharePoint OAL or Templify. Basically, admins can now hook up their official branded image libraries. So when someone uses Copilot to generate slides, it can pull approved on-brand images. OAL's the Microsoft way, organizational asset libraries, but it also works with tools like Templify.
Oh, that's fantastic for brand consistency, keeping presentations looking professional without users having to hunt for the right images.
Huge deal for branding teams, yeah.
Yeah.
Requires a bit of setup. Obviously, metadata on images, admin configuration, but the payoff in consistency is significant.
Makes sense. And sticking with content, but shifting to news, there were updates to news page in SharePoint sites on July 31st. Looks like a refreshed user experience for the main news page, the See All view. Plus, for users with the right license, Copilot capabilities are being integrated right into news creation. Smarter news posts.
The intelligence keeps spreading. And related to grounding prompts, there was also Microsoft Copilot, Microsoft 365, Lists and Context IQ on July 3rd. This lets you actually search for and pick SharePoint lists from the Context IQ menu when you're in Copilot chat.
Ah, so you can point Copilot directly at structured list data for its prompts. That sounds really useful for getting specific answers from list info.
Exactly. Pulling project status, customer details, that kind of thing, right from the list data.
And one more quick Copilot-related one, Microsoft Copilot, Microsoft 365. Save an audio overview from Copilot notebooks to OneDrive came July 28th. So if Copilot generates audio in notebooks, you can now save that file to OneDrive easily for sharing or downloading.
Yeah, nice little addition for accessibility and sharing those summaries.
Yeah.
Okay, so Copilot is clearly making waves in creation and interaction.
Yeah.
But once you have the content, securing it is crucial. Purview saw some significant updates too, right?
Definitely. It feels like Microsoft is really trying to make Purview more powerful, but also more practical for, complex real-world scenarios. First up, July 4th was a big one for OCR. Microsoft Purview Compliance Portal. Optical character recognition, OCR, support for embedded images in
Oh,
files.
the embedded image problem. So it's not
Yeah.
just scanning standalone image files anymore.
Exactly. Purview's OCR can now look inside DOCX, PPTX, LSX files, and even PDFs, both scan ones and those hybrid ones with text and images, to find sensitive info within embedded images.
Wow, okay. That closes a pretty big potential gap. Those images buried in old PowerPoints or scanned contracts were always a bit of a blind spot.
For sure. Huge for data loss prevention.
So with all this power, how do large organizations manage it effectively, especially if they have teams spread out geographically?
Microsoft addressed that too. July 10th brought Microsoft Purview Compliance Portal, data loss prevention admin unit support for SharePoint Online. This enables delegated management using role-based access control, RBAC,
Meaning?
meaning you can give specific people, say investigators in German, the authority to handle alerts and audits, but only for German users. It allows for that regional or departmental control.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense for global companies. Distributed management while keeping policies central, that's vital for privacy, and just making it workable.
And then a really significant one landed on July 15th. Introduction of secure workflow to bypass retention legal holds on OneDrive and SharePoint.
Bypass holds, that sounds sensitive.
It is, and it requires very specific admin roles and creates a clear audit trail. It's a Purview data lifecycle management feature coming properly in August 2025. It allows authorized admins to delete content before retention expires or holds are lifted under strict controls. It even covers managing Copilot artifacts separately.
So balancing strict retention with the practical need to sometimes remove things, maybe for storage or true obsolescence, but with safeguards. Organizations will need to get their roles and policies updated for that one.
Absolutely. Requires careful planning. And finally for Purview, on July 25th, Microsoft Purview Compliance Portal. Information protection scan existing files in SharePoint and OneDrive for business for sensitive information.
So scanning data at rest, not just newly created stuff.
Exactly. Admins can now proactively kick off scans of existing files in SharePoint and OneDrive to find sensitive data that might already be sitting there.
That's a big shift from reactive to proactive data governance. Finding risks before they become incidents. Compliance folks must love that.
You'd think so. Okay, let's switch gears. E-signatures. That was another area with some major movement in July.
Yeah, the big headline dropped on July 21st. SharePoint. eSignature globally available. Microsoft's own native eSignature service is now live pretty much everywhere. Users can send Word and PDF docs for simple electronic signatures right from within SharePoint.
And the key benefit is keeping it all within the Microsoft ecosystem, right? For security and compliance.
Exactly. The documents don't need to leave Microsoft's boundaries, keeps things simpler and more secure. There are a few exceptions still, China, Indonesia, Turkey, but for most places, it's good to go.
That's a major step. Reduces friction.
And didn't they also improve how signed documents from other providers are handled?
They did. And July 10th, SharePoint. Signed Adobe and DocuSign documents saved to the originating folder. So if you start the signature process from SharePoint using Adobe or DocuSign integrations, the final signed PDF now automatically saves back to the same folder where the original document lived. No more hunting in that default apps folder. That's a small change, but makes a huge difference practically. Keeps things organized.
Definitely cleans up that workflow. And one more eSignature tweak on July 28th, SharePoint. eSignature, free text field support.
Free text, so you can ask for more than just a signature.
Yep. You can add custom fields to ask the signer for extra info, maybe a full address, job title, whatever specific detail you need alongside the signature. Makes it more flexible.
Nice. Okay, beyond signatures, what about general user experience and integrations? What caught your eye there?
Well, for internal comms folks, there was Microsoft Viva. Custom font and theme support for Viva Amplify across 2 updates, July 15th and 23rd. This lets communicators use custom brand themes and fonts, published via the Brand Center and their Amplify campaigns. So things look consistent across Outlook, SharePoint, etc.
Right, reinforcing the brand visually, important for cohesive messaging.
It is, though worth noting, the custom fonts need deploying via endpoint management. It's not automatic. And admins can't disable this tenant-wide, apparently.
Good points for IT to be aware of. Any smaller usability tweaks?
A subtle one. On July 18th, Microsoft OneDrive for Business updated order of shortcut and sync commands. Just reshuffling those commands slightly in OneDrive and SharePoint libraries to be, hopefully, more intuitive. Rolling out late July to mid-August. No action needed, but maybe update help docs.
Every little bit helps. What about sharing content, like videos?
Yes, updates to SharePoint video sharing on July 25th. They introduced secure sharing links for videos, which can grant access even if the person doesn't have fight permissions. Plus, new dialogues to make creating those links or copying videos between sites easier.
Making video sharing smoother and more secure. That's crucial as video becomes more common.
Definitely. It's on by default, rolling out mid-July to early August, so worth letting users know. And a really neat integration for Teams users, July 31st. Microsoft Teams. Share meeting recap to SharePoint.
Ooh, share the recap directly.
Yeah, organizers or presenters can push the meeting notes and tasks from the Teams recap straight into SharePoint as a news post.
That's brilliant for closing the loop after meetings. Gets the info out easily, bridges Teams collaboration with SharePoint knowledge.
Exactly. Streamlines that follow-up process.
And one last quick one for our video creators again, Microsoft Clipchamp. Updated Clipchamp video start page on July 21st. Sounds like a new central hub for creating and managing videos in M365.
Just making that video workflow a bit more unified, yeah. So when you look back at all these July updates, the AI woven in, the stronger compliance, the smoother integrations, it's quite a convergence. As Microsoft 365 keeps embedding Copilot everywhere and security gets smarter, what new ways of working does this actually open up for you? Things you maybe haven't even thought about yet for managing your digital space.
That's a really interesting question to ponder. It's not just about the features themselves, is it? It's how these constant, sometimes small updates are quietly reshaping our daily workflows. We're moving towards this much more connected, intelligent way of working. How might that shift things long term for your organization's strategy? You know, everything from bringing new people on board to handling sensitive data across global teams. It's about the operational possibilities these tools unlock. And on that thoughtful note, that wraps up this Hands-on M365. Thanks so much for tuning in today.
We really hope this gave you a good overview of the key SharePoint updates from July. Remember, for daily news on Microsoft 365, plus tips for SharePoint, Teams, and more, check out handsontech.net.
And to catch all our future hands-on M365 explorations, make sure you're following Jaume Ferreira's blog, Hands on SharePoint, and of course, follow this show so you don't miss out. We'll talk to you next time.
Bye for now.